Me siento sumamente orgulloso de decir hoy que Libertad Sin Ira va a ser el primer acto pro-Israel en la historia de la Facultad de Ciencias Políticas de la Complutense. La realidad es que en un espacio como el actual hemos visto diferentes perspectivas palestinas y pocas veces se ha hablado de Israel, por decir nunca, por lo que nos sentimos sumamente orgullosos de que este sea el primer acto en pro de Israel, contando la realidad que viven los israelitas desde la mano de un cristiano en la sociedad y bueno, luchar contra el antisemitismo, que es nuestra prioridad, pues, ¿no?
Buenas tardes, amigos. Soy el profesor Rubén Herrero de Castro, profesor de Relaciones Internacionales de la Facultad de Ciencias Políticas de la Universidad Complutense. He tenido el honor de avalar este acto contra el antisemitismo que tendrá lugar en esta facultad y tendré el placer de presentar ese acto tan necesario contra el antisemitismo, no solo en esta universidad, sino en toda la universidad, que hay que plantear una batalla cultural contra el marxismo cultural y los movimientos woke que promueven el antisemitismo. Shalom, amigos.
שלום, אז הגעתי היום למדריד, הגעתי לפקולטה למדעי המדינה באוניברסיטה הכי ותיקה בספרד. באתי לתת באמת את התמונה והתמונה האמיתית של מדינת ישראל, שהיא תומכת במיעוטים בישראל, במיוחד אני שבאתי מרקע נוצרי, שיש לי עמותה שנקראת יוזמת הירושלמים, אז באתי כאן לתת פייט ולהראות את הפנים היפות של מדינת ישראל, שאף פעם לא מראים אותם באירופה במיוחד, ובעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח, ונייצג את ישראל והעדה הנוצרית כמו שצריך, במיוחד במאבק באנטישמיות, האנטישמיות שמתגברת ברחבי אירופה, וזה מחזיר אותנו לתקופה אבלה, ואני מקווה שאני אשנה את הדעה של מלא אנשים כאן, במיוחד תומכי ה-BDS, שהם יבינו על מה הם נלחמים, ואיפה האמת ואיפה הדברים באמת האמיתיים שצריכים להילחם עליהם, וזכות היהודים במדינה שלהם, המדינה היהודית והדמוקרטית. תודה.
Bueno, bienvenidos a todos, muchas gracias por venir al primer acto que se hace en la historia de esta facultad contando la versión israelita. Quería antes de todo dar las gracias por venir, contar más o menos cómo va a ser la dinámica del acto. Pues primero va a estar Rubén presentando por parte de, como representante del profesorado de esta universidad valiente. Pues tenemos a Elias, presidente de ACO, que nos va a contar un poco de lo que es la iniciativa de ACO en España. Y bueno, thank you, Elias, for coming. Una cosa que es importante decir es que el acto va a estar conducido en hebreo, va a estar conducido en inglés, y cualquier cosa me la pueden transmitir a mí. Yo intentaré estar traduciendo al mismo tiempo que le está hablando, si hay alguna cosa que no se llega a entender claramente, pero la mayoría del acto va a ser en inglés, ya que ella viene directamente desde Israel a contarnos su realidad, ¿no? Puedo dar paso a Rubén que dé las palabras de bienvenida.
Buenas tardes, amigos. Shalom, que bien suena esta palabra en esta facultad y en esta universidad. Qué bien suena esta palabra en esta facultad y en esta universidad. Decía Diego que estoy aquí en representación del profesorado. No, estoy representándome a mí mismo. Soy el profesor que ha tenido el honor de avalar este acto para que se pueda celebrar, el único profesor que se ha prestado a ello. Por tanto, no hay ningún otro profesor en la facultad que haya deseado avalar este acto. No estoy en representación de nadie, salvo en la de la dignidad, la decencia, lo bueno, lo bonito, lo bello y de mí mismo, con los buenos amigos de ACOM, con Elias y con un público tan agradable y tan amable. Pues hacer este acto es importantísimo en la facultad. Es la primera vez que un acto contra el antisemitismo, un acto que va a poner de relieve a Israel como agente del bien y de la prosperidad global, se celebra en la Universidad Española, se celebra, por supuesto, en esta facultad. El tema que vamos a tratar es esencial, es el antisemitismo. porque nuestros enemigos lo quieren ocultar y nuestros enemigos quieren presentar a Israel, a los judíos y a los que nos consideramos amigos de Israel y de los judíos como algo perverso, como algo malo. El antisemitismo debe ser erradicado y nos encontramos en un momento crucial de la historia, esencial. Era lógico esperar por parte de nacionalsocialistas y comunistas el odio que profesan a los judíos y al Estado de Israel. Pero recientemente en la universidad, no solo en España, sino en todas partes del mundo, nacionalsocialistas y comunistas se han visto acompañados en su siniestro camino por lo que se conoce como la cultura o el movimiento woke y por movimientos abyectos como BDS contra Israel, los judíos y los amigos de Israel. Por tanto, este acto es absolutamente necesario. Hoy somos pocos, pero muy buenos, y pronto cada vez seremos más. Muchísimas gracias a todos por venir a Libertad Sin Ira, por organizar, a nuestros buenos amigos de ACOM por apoyarnos, por aportar y traer a un ponente de primera categoría como es Elias, y estoy seguro que va a ser un acto maravilloso. Shalom, amigos.
Bueno, damos paso a que aquí nos cuente unas palabras.
Buenas tardes, soy Elias, presidente de ACOM. Y lo primero, daros las gracias y a Libertad Sin Ira. Aquí los héroes sois vosotros, los que venís aquí a la boca del lobo todos los días. Sois vosotros los que tenéis que aguantar a los intolerantes, a los violentos, a los exaltados. Sois vosotros. Es cierto que en un medio como este, el canario en la mina, que siempre somos los judíos, pues al final somos las primeras víctimas de la intolerancia, del fanatizado. Por eso nosotros hace ya más de 20 años decidimos dar una voz española a la lucha contra el antisemitismo y a favorecer las mejores relaciones entre España e Israel, porque somos dos democracias garantistas, porque nos unen valores occidentales, porque compartimos intereses comunes. Nuestros enemigos, no voy a decir adversarios, son enemigos, porque cuando alguien quiere exterminarte es un poquito más que un adversario, sagazmente buscan enmascarar su odio, ese odio ancestral que representan, ese odio más antiguo, el odio a los judíos. Pues últimamente lo intentan enmascarar buscando eufemismos, buscando engaños, y ahora hablan de antisemitismo, antisionismo. Ya no es antisemitismo, ya no hablan de los judíos, eso suena ya un poco nazi. Hablan de la entidad sionista, de los sionistas, de Israel. Os voy a decir una cosa primero. Los distinguiréis porque es muy fácil. Usan los mismos clichés que siempre se han usado para demonizar, para deshumanizar, para criminalizar, para excluir a los judíos, desde hace siglos y siglos y siglos. Pero ahora se creen inmunes porque ya no hablan de los judíos, hablan de Israel. Todos sabemos que cuando hablan de Israel, hablan de algo que es el judío colectivo. No es nada más que eso. Pero es lo mismo, porque usan exactamente los mismos clichés de deshumanización, de criminalización. Pero es que os digo más, no hay nada que un antisemita odie más que un judío que tiene la voluntad de defenderse y la capacidad de defenderse. Y eso es lo que el Estado de Israel, el judío colectivo, representa hoy para ellos. Y por eso echan espuma por la boca, porque aquí estamos y ya no vamos a ser ni simplemente tolerados, ni abusados, ni violentados impunemente. Y eso les pone muy nerviosos. Con el fin de enmascarar estos fines sectarios que tienen, usan, como digo, una serie de clichés, una narrativa perversa, una terminología que he venido impregnando y se ha venido aceptando desde la academia, desde los medios, desde la opinión pública, y que os invito a que rechacéis, a que denunciéis cada vez. Son términos que por oídos, por habituales, no se critican ni siquiera se cuestionan. Términos como refugiados palestinos, refugiados de quinta generación. ¿Pero qué es eso? ¿Alguien ha oído hablar de refugiados del Imperio Austrohúngaro o de la Prusia Oriental? Eso no existe. 800.000 judíos tuvieron que salir de países árabes y nadie les llama refugiados si están en Israel, si estamos en Europa o estemos donde estemos. Eso es falso. Ocupación. ¿Cómo que ocupación? Aquí los únicos que ocuparon Jerusalén en su momento fueron los jordanos y destrozaron cientos de sinagogas en su ocupación. Hicieron de la explanada del muro, la hicieron un vertedero. ¿Cómo que ocupación? ¿Cómo los judíos vamos a ocupar la tierra de los judíos? Es como si los españoles ocupáramos España, pero ha ido permeando en el discurso y en la narrativa. ¿Cómo que colonos? ¿Cómo que campos de refugiados? Pero alguien, yo os invito a que visitéis uno de esos campos de refugiados. Son ciudades con edificios, con luz, ¿cómo que un campo de refugiados? Pero tienen han obtenido esta narrativa de victimismo aceptada, tolerada, y que nosotros hemos aceptado esa narrativa impuesta que tenemos que rechazar, porque en esa terminología está la aceptación de su mito. Y quiero hablar de los palestinos. Elias es un representante de una minoría que está acosada en Oriente Medio, los cristianos de Oriente Medio, una minoría en declive que en cualquier país de Oriente Medio, desde Siria a Irak, a Egipto, está machacada. El único lugar donde esos cristianos obtienen garantías, refugio, donde sus números están creciendo, es en Israel. Desde que Israel aceptó otorgar control en algunas zonas de Judea y Samaria, en los territorios, a la autoridad palestina, el número de cristianos en ciudades como Belén ha venido creciendo, precisamente por el control, por la violencia que ejerce la mayoría árabe musulmana contra esa minoría cristiana. Elías representa una minoría dentro de una minoría. Las minorías en Israel es el único lugar de Oriente Medio donde las mujeres tienen derechos, las minorías u otras opciones sexuales tienen derechos y donde las minorías religiosas también tienen derechos. Israel reconoce por ley al menos 9 minorías. Beduinos, circasianos, bajáis, cristianos arameos, armenios, rusos. Están reconocidas y protegidas por el Estado. Es el Estado judío, es el Estado de los judíos, donde la mayoría es judía, pero donde las minorías encuentran su lugar, igual que la lengua árabe encuentra su lugar. En este caso, si me permitís, y voy a decir algo que a lo mejor os va a chocar, Elías tiene sus derechos en Israel más protegidos que ciertas minorías en España los tenemos hoy, donde la incitación y la coacción hace que estos actos solo los podamos tener con una seguridad a la que agradecemos extraordinaria y con un sentimiento de coacción e intimidación que existe, y lo sabemos. Eso es lo que no podemos permitir, que un espacio público como la universidad se haya convertido en un rancho de unos cuantos. Si alguien quiere tener un rancho propio, que se lo compre. Si no, la universidad pública está para el debate civilizado, las ideas contrastadas y para la tolerancia. Y esto es lo que no ha estado pasando en España, en esta facultad y en esta universidad. Por eso, de nuevo, y termino, os doy las gracias a Libertad Sin Ira. Sois los héroes aquí. Como dice Rubén, es el primer acto, pero no va a ser ni el último, va a ser uno de muchos. Y hoy estamos plantando esa pique en Flandes. Así que, muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias, Ángel. Vamos a tener que cambiar entonces ahora a inglés. Well, thanks, Elias, for coming straight from Israel to talk to you.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to give this stage to hear the minority's voice in the Middle East. I came from the Middle East, from Israel, so I'm as a minority living in Israel. I'm seeing and showing the difference between the minorities that living just around us, like Syria, like Egypt, like Lebanon, like Iraq. What happened for the minorities in the last 15 years, it was really horrible. And to live as a minority in Israel and to have all the rights and to get everything that you need and you get this as a Jewish. You are not Jewish as a Muslim or as a Christian or as a Druze in Israel, but you have the same law as a Jewish people. So, thank you for inviting me.
Mark, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
First of all, we wanted to start talking about your initiative, so if you can explain more about it.
Okay.
We have a presentation also.
Okay. I will give like a little background about my personal story. I born in the Christian quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. I did my education in a Lutheran Anglican school, and after I finished my first degree in Bethlehem University. Me myself, I grew up on antisemitism narrative, and I've been educated to hate the Jewish people just because they are Jewish people. What made me a switch in my mind, it's a very personal story, but I need you just to hear it and I can share it with you. In my last year of the university, my cousin, she's 4 years younger than me, she started her first year in the same university. After 3 months, a refugee, Palestinian refugee, kidnapped her from inside the university and he forced her to convert to Islam, to marry her. At that time, I was like you. I was in university and I was in the Popular Front of Liberation Palestine student movement, which is the left side, the communism side of the Palestinian groups. At that time, I thought that my comrades would come to help me to get back my cousin from the refugee camp. I called those people that they were also my colleague from the university. I came to the refugee camp, to the entrance. They came with their weapons. I thought at that time, I have comrades, I'm gonna fight and get back my cousin to her parents. But the shock that I get, that they used those guns to put it in my chest. I learned and studied with them for years. We're eating together, we're working together in projects, and we are together every day. Even that they are communists, they are so liberal, they are progressive, but they back to their roots. They put the M16 here in my chest and asked me to move. She's Muslim now, she's one of us, you cannot do anything. At this moment, all my world just collapse and I see like a black screen. This is the real switch that made me more closer to Israel. This event just made me, I want to find my identity. I was at that time presenting myself as a Palestinian Christian. But when I back to my roots, I find that the Christianity built in the Judaism. That Jesus at that time was a Jew, and he came for the Jewish people. And by the way, guys, those information, even in the Christian schools in Jerusalem, they are hidden from Christians in purpose. Because they know the Christians know about the roots and the real roots of the Christians, especially the Christians in the Holy Land, the Christians in Israel. That more than 60%, you can say that they came from a Judaism root. The first Christians, even 200 years after Jesus, there was no religion called Christianity. They were Jews that they believe in the Messiah, they believe in Jesus at that time. When I start to learn more about my history, I find out that if I'm fighting the Jewish people, I get educated to hate them with no reason. Just inside the education books, you hear about the history. All the words that you hear it's occupation. The Palestinian occupied by the Israeli. The Israeli came, killed Palestinians, refugees, and all the narrative that you hear every day. So at that point, I feel that I need to make a change in my community. I need to make a change in Israel. So I established with my colleagues, by the way, we are Jewish and Christians, an organization called the Jerusalem Initiative. Our goal is to bring the Christians more closer to the state, to encourage them also to serve the IDF, the Israeli Defense Army, to take part, to protect our homeland, our holy land, our country. What make more the switch more stronger and make me just be a social activist and to work more harder at this event, to make it more inside the people, that to make the changes come from inside them and to show them the fact and to learn them. By the way, I finished my 12-year school with no Hebrew language. I wasn't speak language after my school, and this makes you a virtual barrier between you and the public, the general society. I finished my first degree, and I cannot integrate in a workplace because I don't speak this language. And this is why the first goal of the Jerusalem Initiative is to give the Christians in Jerusalem and also in other parts of the countries the key to open the gate, to open the door, to enter to the Israeli society, which is the Hebrew language. To give them a free course. For the last 4 years, we make like 4 courses. During the COVID pandemic, we make it by the Zoom. And I remember one scene from the Zoom that a grandmother, she's 60 plus, and her daughter, she's around 30, and her granddaughter. 3 of them, 3 generations of Christians, they want to learn the language, they want to integrate in this state. And what make the Christians and all the minorities in the Middle East to change their minds is before 10, 12 years, when ISIS start to kill the minorities in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Syria. Not only Christians, also Yazidis, Druze. Anybody who is non-Muslim, he's being killed at those countries in the Middle East. So if we look at ourselves as a minorities in Israel, again, we are equal in everything in Israel. We have the right to worship, we have the right to wear a cross. Nobody just tell me in Israel why you're wearing a cross. This is a Jewish state. So the footage that they gained from the massacre that ISIL just did it in the Middle East made the Christians more close to the Israeli state. They want to integrate, they want to take part, to defend our country, our convents, our churches, our families. If ISIS and all the terrorist organizations just come and they want to destroy Israel, they will destroy also the Jewish people and the Christian people and the Druze people, because this is their agenda, this is their goals from the beginning. So if we don't unite together with the Jewish people to save this small country, if you look at the map of the Middle East, you're going to see like 22 or 24 countries, Arab countries, and Israel is a small country near to the Mediterranean Sea. But this country, in fact, is the most technology country in the Middle East, even in the world. We have a lot of high-tech companies in Israel, and we have a lot of initiatives in Israel that we can share with our neighbors. I call from here also for, if you have here a BDS movement that they carry the Palestinian narrative, just to explain to them how much the minorities just suffer. They don't know the information. I just meet a little group here next to the elevator now. When I came here, they refuse to talk with me. They have no idea what they are defending. They are defending an idea, but they don't have any information about this. I came from the West Bank, what they call it the West Bank. I call it Judea and Samaria. I came from there. I used to share my life with the Palestinian people. I said that they have the right to live and to get their freedom. But we gave them their freedom in Gaza for a long time. And what we get from this peace and from this free autonomy, we get the missiles back to the south of Israel. Even we get the missiles to Jerusalem before last year. So if we give those people the peace and their country, they will fight Israel again. This is the basics of the anti-Semitism that they grow up and they wash their minds. If you will, please just show the video that I sent to you. I'm going to show you here, guys, a school in the Palestinian Authority. No, not this, it's a video. Okay. It's a school in the Palestinian Authority. I'm talking about students 9 up to 10 years old. And look what they learned, to kill Jewish people.
That's the day-to-day of a Palestinian school.
This is a Palestinian school, and kind of these activities, it's in all around the Palestinian schools. In Gaza, the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and even in East Jerusalem. By the way, the Palestinians have the right to rule their schools in East Jerusalem. Israel never forced them to learn with the Jewish or the Israeli material or material education. They are using in East Jerusalem the right to choose the Palestinian education material, and they are learning and teaching a new generation to be a terror. Basically, the schools, it's the basic to grow up a terrorist generations. And this is why, if you hear, at the end of January this year, a 13-year-old boy, he get a pistol, he wait outside of a synagogue in David City in Jerusalem and shoot 2 prayers after they pray Shabbat in the morning in the synagogue. This is the side effect of the education that they get it in the school. And unfortunately, CIDA, it's an organization of the Spanish government, they give fund for the Palestinian Authority for the education. And they use the taxes that you paid here in Spain to give them to the Palestinian Authority to grow up another generation of for terrorists. So this is really a point that you need to know it as a Spanish citizens. It's not only in Spain, all around Europe, Germany, France, they give a fund yearly. They are funding the Palestinian Authority for a lot of projects, but the NGOs in the Palestinian authorities use the funding for their agenda and use this funding to hate and for the anti-Semitism and not for building bridges. What really I want that the European Union countries just do all around the Middle East is to build bridges between the two sides, the Jewish and the Arabs, to make them more closer and to live in a harmony and in a peace. But you're shocked when you get those information that all the funding that they get from Europe, it goes to the Palestinian Authority and the NGOs. It will never go to the right way, and they use it again for their agenda. Now I want to show you just we make it short, okay? Like 8 minutes maybe. It's
I like to take them out and we can repeat it again.
Yes. So this is the subject, it's the Christians in Israel, challenges and challenges on the way for immigration. The Christian Israel, there are 1,800. 80% of them, they are Arab speaking. We as a Christian, we are 2% of the population in Israel. The normal increase of the population is 1.2. Under 30 years old, like young people, they are 28%, sorry. Old people, 65 plus, they are 12%. We have 21 militaries that they serve in the IDF and the Israeli police. By the way, last year, a Christian policeman just killed in a terrorist attack in Bnei Brak. He's from Nazareth, he's Christian, and he was working in an Orthodox city which is called Bnei Brak, and he just tried to stop the terrorist attack, and the terrorists shoot him and he died. So the Christians, they do really face their country, and even we don't look that there's a difference in the Israeli society. Even if you are Orthodox Jew, or you are Catholic Christian, or you are liberal one that you are not really believe in religion, we live in harmony in Israel. All the negotiation that you see in Israel, it's not really a conflict. We are living in a democracy country that gives the rights to anybody just to say whatever you want without being jailed or persecuted. So in Nazareth we have the biggest population of the Christian community, 23,000. In Haifa it's 16,000. In Jerusalem 14,500, and Shfar it's in the Galilee at 10,000. The rest they are living in Jaffa, in Rompe and Lod. The Christian community, they are the most educated minorities in Israel. If you look here to the percentage, 68% 68% of the Christians, after there is a special exam that they make it to enter to the university, so 68% of the Christian pass it, only 52%, 51.9 for the Druze, and 55.1 for the Muslims. A little background, I will not talk a lot about this, it's a historical background about the Christians. So the previous Christians, we have like 3 categories in Israel for the Christians, the previous, the Middle Ages, and the New Era. The previous Christians, they were like Jewish, they believed that Jesus was the Messiah, and after 200 years of Jesus, they established the Christianity, the Byzantine Empire, and after this, a lot of tribes, like the Aramaic tribes, Syrian, Phoenicians, Samaritans, Greeks, and all of these categories. The biggest and the large church in Israel is the Greek Orthodox Church. And by the way, the land that they built on it, the Israeli parliament, which is called the Knesset, it was a land for the Greek Orthodox Church. By the way, it's my church. And they donated for the Israeli government to build the parliament. So the parliament of Israel, the Knesset, it's built on a land that belongs to the Greek Orthodox Church. And a lot of Kakar, if you know Kakar, Karagan in Israel, a lot of projects and lands that they given by the Greek Orthodox Church. If you look here, you can see here it's a mosque that built on the top of a church in Samaria. The archaeological finds, if you see here, it's Magen David, it's Star of David. This is a proof that the first Christians in Israel, they don't use the cross used it only after 200 years of Jesus, and this was the symbol for the Judeo-Christians. It's the first era, it's the previous Christians. Here you can see a grave for a Christian, and you can see they used also the menorah and other symbols of Judaism. And here it's not really clear, but it's the fish. The fish was also a symbol for the first Christians in the Holy Land. Now about the Middle Ages, they came from Europe during the Middle Ages. Most of them, they are the Catholics. Back from here. And the new Christians, the new era, they are Armenian, and they are another group, the South Lebanon Army. I will talk to you short about them. The Armenian just escaped from their country in the start of the 19th century after a genocide of the Ottoman Turkish Empire. So they see at that time to come to Jerusalem, which is the holy city, and live in this land, and until now they have a quarter inside the whole city. It's called the Armenian Quarter, and they have their own faith, they have their own churches, convents, and they are living in harmony with a local Christians in Israel and also the Jewish people. The South Lebanon Army, they were Christians that they see that to free Lebanon, I'm talking about during the Lebanon Civil War, the Christians in the south suffered from the Shia, and they make a unite with the Israeli army, and they ruled South Lebanon until 2000. In 2000, Israel withdrew from South Lebanon, and a lot of families of the officers, they came to live in Israel, because if they stay in Lebanon, they will be killed. 50% of the Christians in Israel, they are Greek Orthodox, 40% they are Melechite, Greek Catholic, and the rest they are Maronites, Coptic, Syrian, Lutheran, and Germans, and all other churches. By the way, you have all the churches in Jerusalem and in Israel, from all different views. Identity, there's a several identity for the Christians in Israel. There's no like a standard title for the Christians. If you ask anybody, there's the people say that they are. Christian Israelis, even Palestinian Christians, Christians Arab-speaking, and Israeli Arab Christians. I present myself as a Christian Arab-speaking, but the most important that I'm Israeli Christians Arab-speaking. The terminology that Christians in the Holy Land, they are Arab, it's a wrong terminology, because if you I'll give you a little background about the history. Whenever been Arab, the Christian Holy Land, they speak Aramaic, and they have their own heritage, they have their own folklore. In the 7th centuries, the Islam occupation came from the south, from the Gulf area now, and started to occupy all the Middle East countries up to Andalusia. And the people, the local people and the local tribes just lost their heritage, their original language, and it mixed with the Arabic and Muslim heritage. Okay, about the integration of the Christians, we have 3 parts. The first part is the individuals. They integrate by personal career, and there is the first thing, the people that break the ice and they act against the norm. And the last one, the third one, is integration and responsibility, which is my colleagues, that we see that we should make an act. To integrate as a personal career, it's not enough. We need to act. We are the ambassadors of Israel and the Christian community in the world. Okay, this is the first category, the personal career. Here you can see Johnny Sruji. Johnny Sruji is a senior vice president of the hardware at Apple Technologies, and he's working under the CEO Tim Cook. Here you can see Professor Masad Barhoum. He's a professor of the Medic section University Bar Ilan, and he's a director of the Galil Medical Center in Nahariya. Here you can see George Kara. He's a Supreme Court Justice. And Salim Jubran, he's a former Supreme Court Justice, and he was the chairman of the Central Election Committee for the Knesset, the 20th Knesset, which is the parliament elections. All of them, they are Christians. They integrate in Israel by personal career. Now we will move to the other part. Here you can see this is a priest. He's a Greek Orthodox. He's from Yafia. Yafia is a small village next to Nazareth in north of Israel. He was the first brave priest that he broke the ice and established with former military and police achievement form to encourage the Christians to integrate in the Israeli society. Here we can see the first link, the people that they came against and fight against the norm. The norm was Christians, they are in the middle. They are not with the Israeli side, they are not with the Palestinian side, we live like our own life. But those people was brave. Here we can see the first female, Christian female, her name is Eleanor Joseph, and she's in a special unit in the IDF, which is called Karakar. Karakar is only for females. They are serving in the border between Israel and Egypt, in the south of Israel, near to Sinai. Here we can see Shadimat Khalou. He's a former and is in the reserve major in the army, the IDF. And he established a school, preparing school before the military service. Here we can see Wasim Ashkar, Wasim and Samuel Jewish. This is the high-ranking Christians in the police border. Wasim Ashkar is the commander of the police border inside the old city of Jerusalem. And he's fighting the terrorists every day, stabbing and killing, and all what you see in the news. And here, Ehab Shaya, he's a lieutenant colonel. He's the first Christian that gave this rank ever in Israel. And here you can see George Leek. George Leek is Christian, but he's the ambassador of Israel in a Muslim country in Azerbaijan. So here you can see that Israel really gives the minorities a special care. And if you want to integrate in Israel, you can succeed in your life. Okay, here's my group that they came as ambassador, and they are respected as a Christian community, and they are the ambassador of the Christian community. Here you can see Jonathan Al-Khoury, the first one. Okay. Here you can see Jonathan Al-Khoury. His father was an officer of the South Lebanon Army. By the way, he's a gay. He's presenting himself as a Christian, as a Lebanese Israeli, and as a gay. And here we can see Yusuf Haddad. He's also Arab Israeli. He's working in public diplomacy. He's also a fighter against the BDS. Nivil Mahfouz Elias, and she's Armenian Christian, and she's a social activist inside Israel and ambassador for the Christian community outside of Israel. Miriam Yunus, she's a Lebanese also Israel. Her parents came from Lebanon after 2000, and she's a social activist and a content creator. This is the footage that I talked to you about when I started my talking here. This photo, it really makes the change of the Christians, especially in Israel, that we have no other chance and no future if we don't really unite with the Jewish together. Here you can see 21 Kurds killed on Libya, on the Mediterranean Sea, on the beach of Libya, and you see the terrorists from ISIS. After the video, they just cut 21 heads and they buried them on the desert. Here we can see in Iraq, just destroy and removing the cross and putting the ISIS, the Islamic State flag. So, to share our destiny as Christians with the Jewish people, it's so important, because if we don't act together and we don't defend our border, those footage, you can see it again and again and again. So, this is footage also. This is a church in Syria, this is in Iraq, this is in Egypt during the Islamic Brotherhood. They ruled the country. They burned churches, the convents, they killed the monks and sisters. Okay, this is the Jerusalem Initiative. It's my organization, again, established by Jewish and Christians, Arab speaking. We are focused on education, because again, I started talking about education, and you saw a video, what kind of education you can get in East Jerusalem. Hebrew language, which is the key to enter to the Israeli society and to start to integrate and to share and to work and everything. Lectures, scholarships, encouraging and supporting military and public service. We help people, Christians, just to write a CV, to send it to them, to find them work. Humanitarian aid. By the way, Jewish and Christians from Israel, in the beginning of the COVID pandemic, they donate the masks and all the stuff that they want, and we deliver it to the Angel Hotel in Benjamin and Bethlehem. Because in the first period of the pandemic, they didn't have any equipment to fight the pandemic. The board of directors, I will skip here. She's Sharman Hedding. She's a co-founder. She's a Christian evangelical, and she worked a lot overseas, and especially for the minorities. She worked for Afghanistan to evacuate the Christians after just the United States withdrew from Afghanistan, and a lot of projects in the Middle East and overseas. Dr. Petra Hell, she's a co-founder also of the Jerusalem Initiative. She's Protestant. She's originally from Germany. She came to Israel in 1979, and she's a professor of church history at Jerusalem University College, Mount Zion, and she's a director of ETRFEI, which is a research center, and she's a pastor of the Protestant church. Amit Barak is a Jewish, and we are together acting like daily to make the Christians more closer and to encourage them to integrate in the Israeli society, and especially encourage them to serve in the army. And here you can see the young directors of the Jerusalem Initiative. Here you can see Yusuf Dal, he's a medic on the IDF. And Kirill, he's half Jewish, half Christian. His family came from the Soviet Union in the 90s to Israel. And he's working for the Holocaust survivors, that they are Russian speaking. Oops, last one. Sorry. Sorry. George Hannon is also a co-founder. He's a Christian Arab from Assyrian Church, and he's active on the Scouts. Here are social activities and projects. If you see here, this is the book that we learn the Hebrew language and other courses. This is the first group that they finished the first stage of Hebrew language. We give them the certificate that they finished it. This is our class. You can see there is a different ages. Here you can see a mom with her 2 girls. And here I told you about the policeman that been killed in a terrorist attack in Bnei Brak last year. You can see here his mother, his brother Michael, and his fiancée. She's Jewish and he's Christian. Her name is Shani, and his colleagues from the police. We deliver gifts for the cancer section in our center in Hadassah Garden Hospital in his name in the Jerusalem Day. Here another project, here during the pandemic, Corona pandemic, we deliver food and a lot of people for the Christians and non-Christians also. Here is a special class preparing for the military service. I'm here talking with the youth Christians in Jerusalem. Those guys, they are from Jerusalem and the north, all of them they are Christians. And this photo, it's outside of the Ministry of Defense. Each year of the Christmas, they make a special ceremony in the IDF, Ministry of Defense of Israel, a special ceremony for the Christmas Eve for all the soldiers and officers that they serve in the IDF. Here we have a special project on the Christmas also. It's called the Christmas Smile. We deliver also for the children's sections in the hospitals a gift with Santa Claus, and especially with an officer, a soldier in his uniform as a Christian. He's escorting Santa Claus to the hospital and deliver the gifts. Here also in the New Year evening, we deliver to our soldiers on the different checkpoints around Jerusalem also chocolates that we thank them to protect us at the Christmas evening. These are Jewish students. It's in a school in Modi'in, Elite, and I came to talk with them about the Christianity, the Christian community, and about the people that they share their destiny with Israel. Here again, another year, the yearly, annually ceremony of Christmas. And here they are the leaders and politicians from South America, from Latin America. They came to Jerusalem here. I'm giving them also the same lecture that you're seeing here. And last thing, we're promoting our agenda. If you can see here, with the politicians from Israel and here from outside of Israel. By the way, There are Christian groups that they came each year to celebrate the Jerusalem Day from different churches around the world. They came and they made like a march, like 14 kilometers walking until the old city of Jerusalem. Here you can see the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and ministers. This is the ministers in the Israeli government, Israeli parliament. And here also promoting our agenda. You can see me here with the church leaders in the Holy Land. Here a lot of also meetings and the journalists talking about our agenda and our activities. And that's it, guys. It was a pleasure to talk about the Christian minorities in Israel. If you have any questions,
I wanted to make a question.
Yes.
We're talking before about the background and the brainwash of the Palestinian authorities in schools. I was thinking at the same time about a brainwash that can be also happening in Europe and in the US.
Yeah.
There is a growth of the hate against Israel or anti-Semitism in our society. We can see it here in this very own place, as there are many events like this talking about Palestine and bringing turns to talk here in a public institution like this one. I was surprised because everything here in this university or the Western society nowadays is Israel going after the Christians. And you show us in your presentation that were like many Christians in powerful positions. Why do you think these organizations like the BDS or against Israelis or Jewish people are promoting this wrongful idea of Israel?
They do it in themselves. They do it themselves. First of all, most subjects that you hear from the BDS movement, they are not truth and they are like fake news. They have a lot of fake news. Here I came and I destroyed the terminology that the Christian Israel living in a bad life, but it's not really, and it's not the fact.
We also hear a lot about the apartheid.
Yes.
Phrase, you can see it was written in the wall today outside this very own.
If I show you photos just for the fancy cars in the Palestinian Authority, especially in Ramallah, you will be shocked. How come that the Palestinians, they are living on the Palestinian Authority, on apartheid, while you're having those fancy cars? And it's not only this, the life in the Palestinian Authority areas, they are suffering from their government, from their Palestinian Authority. This is the reason
Suffer in the first place.
Exactly. Even the Christians, unfortunately, that they are living in Bethlehem. And there is 3 towns around Bethlehem, which is called Bethlehem, Bethlehem, and Ben Sahur. Those Christians, they are suffering like a daily. If you have a case, any case, just I will give you an example. A Palestinian came and took and forced a Christian to leave his land, and he take it and force him to leave. If you go to the court, if you are a Christian, the law will never be on your side. Even if you have all the evidence that says that this is my land, I want to take it back. If you are Christians, there is no equal life for the minorities in the Palestinian Authorities cities. It's the same like any country around us in the Middle East.
So the thing is all the way around.
Exactly.
Palestinians pursue the Christians in their societies, and in the other side of the zone, you can see Israelis treating well, integrating
bringing them to powerful.
Look, there is no perfect country in the world. Even in Israel, we have an issue between the Christians and the Jewish.
With the government everywhere, Spain.
Yes, it's in all the countries. But if you look for the image from a wide angle and from the up, and you look to the image, you see that it's a small issue that you get slowed. And in Israel, even if you are a minority and you go to the court and you need justice, you will get the justice. But on the other hand, as a Palestinian Authority, cities and areas, you cannot take your justice there. There's no justice for the minorities. And the power is with the other side, with the refugees, with those people that they are ruled the Palestinian Authority, basically.
So it also you can see a difference between the other minorities in neighbor countries, like it can be in Iraq, it can be in Syria, how they attack Christians for being Christians. Also you can see violence in Spain also from the Muslims to the Christian people. Like a couple of weeks ago, there was an attack in a church here. Someone that was a radical Muslim attacked someone that was working in the church. And it's not only in Palestine and in Israel,
also in Europe.
It can also happen in Europe.
What I cannot understand until now, I'm thinking like all the time, you as a refugee that came from Iraq or from Syria or any place in the Middle East, and you came as a refugee to Europe. You escape from your government, you escape from the Islamic radical ideologies, and you came to a free countries in Europe because they are free, they will accept you, you will have the right for worship, nobody will talk with you or fight you or persecute you. But at the same time, they came as refugees to Europe and they want to change Europe to be an Islamic countries. But you suffer from those people, you want to change their minds here and you are fighting also. They bring also the anti-Semitism with them from Syria, from Iraq to Europe. And they are fighting beside the Palestinian people, but they don't know any information about this conflict.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, you can see the same thing in Europe. At the same time, I wanted people to ask something. I'm sure there are a lot of questions from students.
Sure.
Es el momento de que el que quiera hacer una pregunta tenga la posibilidad, si alguien quiere preguntarle algo a Elias.
Y si es por el idioma, se lo vamos a traducir.
Si quieres tú lo puedes decir en inglés y...
Thank you for coming here and for your talk. It was really interesting. My question is basically, how can we fight anti-Semitism from here? What can we do? Because the Palestinian speech and the Palestinian narrative is very dominant, at least if you want to read a book here in Spain, in Spanish, it's basically biased. It's most of, it's not objective, but I understand it's not objective, but it is more, it's not, I would say it's not from the Jewish side, it's not like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So what can we do really? When we see signs of anti-Semitism, what can we do, or how can we fight that? Do we have to point it out, do we have to, what is the solution? Because as I said, at least the academic or the scholarship here in Spain is very balanced.
Every change comes from the education. I guess it's not only in Spain, it's all around the European Union. They should learn about the Jewish genocide in Europe and what happened for them. I'm talking about the Holocaust. What happened for the Jewish people in Europe, it's horrible, and nowadays you hear the same voices that been at that time of the Holocaust. Again, you listen and you hear it on the streets in Europe. how to fight anti-Semitism, you need, first of all, to educate in the schools. It should be mandatory section, the history of the Middle East or something like this, or the history of the Jewish people, just to learn about what happened for them and what for a long time they suffer. Before also the Nazi, they suffer from the Catholic Church, unfortunately. As a Christian, I'm so sorry that what happened for the Jewish people in Europe from the Catholic Church at that time. But really, if we just give the new generations, the young students in the schools, a background about the Holocaust and a background about what happened for the Jewish people in Europe, they will be more open-minded to accept the Jewish, because unfortunately the progressive parties in Europe, they are more stronger and they are ruling more and more universities and education centers, and they are using the fake news of the BDS. The BDS, it's anti-Semitism movement for everything. This is the narrative that you see with the Palestinian inside the Palestinian Authority or inside the Israeli Arab, or you can find it also here in Europe. So to find, you need to give information, you need to give a background and make the things clear and to the point. And you guys, you can do this as a volunteering. You can go to schools, you can meet students to explain for them, or to arrange an event like this. All the event will talk about the history of the Jewish people in Europe. I guess maybe as a European citizen, if you see and you learn about the history of the Jewish people, you will be more open-minded to build the bridges and not to hate, to love. And this is really what my agenda says, that I came here to build the bridges. Even if there's a BDS here that they want to talk with me, I have no problem to sit with them and drink coffee and to negotiate a lot of things that I'm sure that they don't know it. As a European, that they are fighting with the BDS or standing with the BDS.
No, y respondiendo también a tu pregunta, ¿verdad? Hay muchos movimientos como ACO que luchan contra el antisemitismo día a día en España, ¿no? O sea, creo que...
Yo te diría tres cosas para concluir por mi parte. Primero, todos aquellos que dicen que están preocupados por los judíos muertos, pero quieren discriminar a los judíos vivos, que no me cuenten milongas, son antisemitas. Todos los que se echan las lágrimas de cocodrilo hablando de la Shoah, del Holocausto, de los desastres que ocurrieron, pero hoy apoyan a los regímenes que quieren acabar con el país donde viven la mitad de los judíos del mundo, que apoyan al régimen genocida iraní que quiere acabar con ellos, todos esos son unos cínicos, denúncialos como lo que son. Segundo, todos aquellos que usan, como os decía antes, todos los clichés ancestrales que se usaban contra los judíos, demonizándolos, criminalizándolos, deshumanizándolos, tratándolos con doble rasero, todo eso que se decía, usando, como digo, las mismas imágenes sobre los judíos, ahora lo dicen sobre el Estado judío, sobre el único Estado judío, sobre el único Estado que los judíos tenemos como Estado judío. Denuncia. Es una gran mentira. Se esconden llamando a las cosas antisionismo, cuando en realidad tienen una obsesión compulsiva, enfermiza, con el judío colectivo que se quiere, se sabe y se puede defender. Denúncialo. Y tercero, lo último que os diría, no aceptemos, yo soy español, estoy encantado de vivir en una democracia constitucional que nos devolvió nuestros derechos individuales y colectivos como una mayoría en España. Nosotros estamos en el mismo barco. Los que quieren acabar con nuestro país aquí son los mismos que quieren acabar con lo que representa una minoría leal a nuestro Estado. Aquí, son los mismos, porque son los enemigos de la libertad, los enemigos del Estado de Derecho. Nosotros, a los judíos en España, lo que nos da protección es el Estado de Derecho, los tribunales independientes, las fuerzas del orden, y todos los que quieren acabar con esa estructura, que es el Estado de Derecho, nuestras libertades constitucionales, son los mismos que quieren acabar con la convivencia en general. Por lo tanto, al final somos todos aliados en esta lucha, no somos los judíos la única probable víctima de los sectarios, los fanatizados, somos la primera, pero por eso tenemos que buscar algo.
Yo te diría, de verdad que se ve conmigo, no hay que rendirse frente a los perversos y a la batalla cultural contra el nacionalsocialismo, contra el comunismo y sus recientes aliados del movimiento woke. Porque el movimiento woke son muy inteligentes. PDS son perversos, pero son inteligentes. Un nazi y un comunista les provocan la repulsión natural. Pero en cambio woke disfraza el antisemitismo con otras ideologías que tienen una buena imagen. En el relato, por ejemplo, el falso feminismo, el falso ecologismo, el falso animalismo. Hay que ser inteligentes y detectar que el woke odia a Israel y odia a los judíos. Y ellos se recubren de ese halo de ecología, otras tendencias, movimientos alternativos. Y la clave es la batalla cultural. Como dice el presidente Aragón, denunciar el antisemitismo, combatir el antisemitismo. Es una batalla que se puede perder, pero os diré un secreto, ganaremos. Y solamente una cosa más. Si cae Israel, cae nuestra forma de vida, porque ellos son la primera línea de defensa contra la barbarie. Batalla cultural, sin cuartel. Yo mismo en esta facultad soy minoría absoluta. Son gente como Libertad Sin Ira, yo como profesor, vosotros como estudiantes, cada uno en su sector somos minoría absoluta, pero no nos callamos. Por tanto, siempre fuertes de conciencia.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias.
Yo tengo una última pregunta y es cómo enloquece la autoridad del gobierno palestino.
O sea, ¿cómo puede provocarse el gobierno palestino? Hola.
How do you think you can bring the autocracy in the Palestinian government? How do you think you can break from outside? Me imagino que lo dices desde afuera, no desde Europa. How can you fight the Palestinian government and their
Autocratic move.
The narrative.
Yeah.
The narrative of
And
Palestine.
the literally have the brainwash are making, the narrative that Spanish as a word.
Spanish citizen, as a European citizen, you can fight. She can fight it by, again, it's the same question, it's close. The education, and the education. Without the information, without more details, without giving a real background about the Judaism, the anti-Semitism, unfortunately, will be all the time. We need to learn how to build bridges between the Judaism and the Christianity, because we're fighting against the communism, against the Protestant parties, that they are ruling and trying to rule not only the European Union, even countries. And by the way, the European Union gives funding again for the Palestinian Authority for the education, that the education learn them to hate Jewish and Christians. So those people that they give the fund from the European Union, they are only the communists and the unbelievers and the progressives, that they want not only to change Europe from inside, they want a change that will be like a global change. But I believe that our faith is more stronger and should be more stronger than the communism and more stronger than the progressive.
Sí, y también podemos referir ciertas formaciones políticas con el ex vicepresidente de este país, es abiertamente pro-palestino y está dando clases a...
Perdón, palestinos soy yo. Yo quiero que los palestinos sean libres, que vivan en un país democrático, gobernados por elecciones que no han tenido desde el 2005, sin el control de la Sharia en Gaza, sin el acoso de las minorías, sin el acoso de los homosexuales, sin tratar a las mujeres como bestias de carga. Yo soy pro-palestino. Esos señores no son pro-palestinos. Yo soy pro-palestino. Yo quiero que ellos tengan un Estado tan libre y tan democrático al lado nuestro como lo es Israel. Esos señores no son pro-palestinos. Esos señores quieren perpetuar una narrativa victimista cuyo único sentido no es la mejora de la vida de los palestinos, sino la desaparición del Estado judío, del único Estado judío. Quieren echarnos al mar. Eso es su único objetivo. Y de eso han creado una industria que se perpetúa con las ayudas internacionales. ¿Qué podemos hacer? Exigir a nuestros gobiernos que pagan ese sistema perverso de promoción de la violencia, de glorificación de la muerte, exigirles que para pagarles ese dinero del que viven, como mínimo tengan un comportamiento ético, cívico, de dejar de promover el odio, de dejar de glorificar el terrorismo y la violencia. Como mínimo, 1/3 del dinero que España da a la autoridad palestina se va a pagar subsidios y sueldos perpetuos a los terroristas y a sus familias. Y cuanto mayor es el crimen que han cometido, cuanto más personas han asesinado, mayor es la paga que reciben. Y ese es dinero nuestro. Eso es lo que podemos hacer, que no es poco.
I just want to add just a few words. The progressive and the communists, they are representing the democracy. But it's not really democracy to hate a category of people because of their religion or their beliefs. So it's really, they act and they fight themselves when they encourage people in Europe to hate Jewish because only they are Jewish. They hate Jewish even that he's not Zionist, he's not Israeli, he never been in Israel for even 1 hour, and he born in Argentina. They hate them because they are Jewish and only Jewish. And this goes against their agenda and goes against the democracy.
Well, we have one last question.
Hello, thank you for being here. It's an honor. I wanted to ask, how are the relationships with Europe and how are the relationships with the US?
As a Christian or as an Israeli?
As an Israeli.
Okay.
And also as a Christian and as a Jewish, because we're seeing a lot of behaviors that are anti-Semitic, and it's a little, I don't know, I wanted to know how if you think you're getting the support you need or that they're just not doing anything, letting it pass.
Yes. Look, first of all, I blame also the European Union because in our eyes, as a minorities in the Middle East, we look to Europe as a kind of a Christian countries. But why that and see that those countries of the European Union that should be kind of Christian countries, they support the terror and support terrorists and not supporting the minorities and the Christians in the Holy Land in Israel. So while I'm seeing the funding of few people, again, that you pay taxes and the taxes goes to the government and the government donated to the Palestinian Authority NGOs, and I see that the Christians in Bethlehem, they are immigrant, and in 1990, the Christians were in Bethlehem 88%. After Oslo Agreement and after the Palestinian Authority came to rule Bethlehem, nowadays the Christians on the holiest city of the Christianity where Jesus born, which is Bethlehem, from 88%, now it's 13%. And all the funding that they get from the European Union and from the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and like Qatar, the Palestinians use it to buy Christians' houses, Christians' lands in Bethlehem, to force them to immigrate and leave this territory only for the Palestinian Muslims. So all this information that I'm talking about now, I'm sure that most of you that you don't know it at all. You don't know that the West Bank was full of Christians during the Israeli rule there until Oslo Agreement, and after Oslo Agreement, just the community shrinking and going down, and the people just immigrate. And why they immigrate? Because they don't have any rights. There's no justice for the Christians and the Palestinian authorities. And here I see that we should act together in Israel and outside of Israel as a Christians and a Jewish to keep this. In Israel, we kind of mosaic. We have like a stone, a small stone, it's a Christians, Jewish, Druze, we have everything. And all of them, they are living in a harmony. What you see, what you hear from, again, the BDS movement, it's a fake news. Just come and try to live in Israel only one way. And if you want to go with a cross and you want to go with any religious symbols, nobody just asks you why you are wearing this. Even in Israel, you can see a Muslims with a beard like this and with the Afghanistan wear. And he's working in a mall and nobody just talk to them. Nobody just forced them to shave his beard or to convert him to Judaism or Christianity. While this happened in all over Europe now, that there is a groups that are trying to convert Christians to the Islam in Europe, and they are getting refugees from the Middle East. They suffer from the Islam, and again they want to convert the people to Islam.
Well, thank you, Elias, for sharing your experience.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for us.
Like you.
And you came all the way from.
And please, all what you hear now, just try when you get home to write each one, just 3 or 4 points, and take it as a mission to pass it for another student. Please.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your speech. It was really very interesting. You stressed on education. You showed us the typical scene of Palestinian school. If you go back to history, if you read the peer report that was mentioned by the British mandate at the time, 1937, they say the same, that the Arab school, they taught to hate the Jews. And it is the same, so 50 years, 70 years later, and it is the same. With that atmosphere, that environment on the ground, in the country, my question is, do you really think that is still a realistic prospect, the solution of the two states, or we have to move forward to alternative solution?
I will give you the answer so short. If you go now to the Palestinian authorities and make a secret election by the internet or by a box, it's anonymously and it's a secret election. More than 57% of the Palestinians, they want Israel back to the West Bank and rule the life of them. So this is my answer. The Palestinian, even the normal Palestinian, and they are the majority, all the problems that you hear it and see it, it's only from 35 up to 40% of the Palestinian population. The majority, more than 60-70%, they want to live in peace and in harmony, and even they have no problem to live under a Jewish state, but a democracy state like Israel.
Then why we, from your perspective, why we Europeans are so eager to give funding to what this really a fake state would be a fake state if it is achieved with Israel.
Again, who's funding the Palestinian education and other projects from Europe? It's the progressives and the humanists, because they thought that their agenda, they will make the people in Palestine more progressive and goes to the left side and to the communist side. But in fact, they took these funds as a Palestinian, the Palestinians, and they use it for their own agenda, for their own projects. So here they are working on the communists and the progressive parties in Europe.
Your fears about the support for peace are really startling. They're amazing. I couldn't believe that around 50% support peace with Israel and living with peace. I didn't take that fear.
Again, the radical fanatic group, they are like 40%, but they are ruining the life of the other majority. And this is why you can see a Palestinian Authority minister or a parliament, he have like a Jeep, 2023 electric Jeep, and for his wife he have a Ferrari, and for his son he have a Porsche. So those people just live their lives with the funding that came from Europe. In fact, they should use this funding to build schools, to build hospitals, to make the environment of the Palestinian Authority more easy and more nice for their people. But in fact, this funding, it goes for a specific group, and they use it for themselves, and if they have a rest, they will use it for their narrative and their agenda. By the way, the Palestinian Authority, they don't want a peace, they don't want a country, because if they become a free country, they will lose all the funding that they are getting now. So they're using the conflict to get this money and to fund their families, but not their people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bueno, pues, como dicen en Matrix, todo principio tiene un final, pero no es el caso. Porque aunque ahora nos vayamos con la música a otra parte, nos escucharán de vuelta, nos escucharán alegres y volveremos muy pronto, pero esto es una sorpresa que tenemos guardadita. Quiero agradecer al ponente, a Elias Zarina, la magnífica conferencia que nos ha dado. Thank you very much Quiero agradecer a los valientes de Libertad Sin Ira que han dado un paso al frente decidido para recuperar la universidad de las garras del marxismo cultural y del movimiento woke. Y quiero agradecer a COM el apoyo, la amabilidad, la logística, a su presidente, a Rosa, a Zenaida, todo el apoyo que nos han brindado, y que este será el primero de muchos actos con una colaboración cercana.
You forget Juan. He escorted me and assisted me
Y
during the last 2 weeks.
al director de comunicación de ACOM, Ángel, que ha trabajado mucho para que este acto salga adelante, a los miembros del equipo de medios también, y gracias a todos los... Claro, es que iba ahora. Y a todos y a todas las que habéis venido a este acto. Pues una vez más, ¿no? Shalom, amigos, shalom.
Nos hacemos una foto juntos. Hoy hemos hecho un acto verdaderamente histórico. La primera vez que la voz pro-Israel se ha escuchado en la Facultad de Políticas de la Universidad Pública Complutense de Madrid, que ha sido precisamente el lugar, el epicentro de todos los movimientos de odio, de discriminación, de los intolerantes, de los fanatizados contra Israel, contra los judíos en España. Quiero agradecer a las personas que nos han ayudado a organizarlo, a Libertad Sin Ira y a los miembros del cuerpo académico que nos han ayudado a venir aquí y romper esta lanza, que será la primera de muchas que se romperán a favor de Israel y al favor de la convivencia en la Universidad Pública en España.